Right, so time for Street Talk this week. And like I said earlier on the podcast, I did quite enjoy it this week. There was... the only thing that let it down for me really was there's a bit of storyline crossover, which has ruined up my notes a little bit. So, and also I couldn't think of some storyline titles. Like, all the Daniel stuff this week, it's like Daniel and Daisy and all that, and Max was kind of in there at the end. In my notes I've just written Daniel, Daisy, Nicky, Max mix. So maybe we call it that. But I have got a good storyline title for George and Eileen, haven't I? You like this one? Mm-hmm. Gemma's nodding to the microphone there. George Snorwell. Yeah?
Yeah, it's like Orwell.
Thank you very much. Yes, we had a bit more of the Timperton story. I think I'm doing these in a different order. Doesn't matter. I haven't rearranged them in my notes. We've got. I called this something else as well. Oh my gosh, I'm not even ready for this. Oh, no, I have hazed. Why do I call it that? I don't even remember anymore. Habibly Ever After. Gemma, Toyah, and Imran are getting married next week. How do you feel about that?
Traumatised.
What? Why? Do you want him for yourself? Thorn in Aggie's side from Mr. Thorn. And, oh God, these are just rubbish storyline titles. I'm just going to get on with this.
Eid Begone?
No.
What's that mean?
Eid Bygone. I think I was thinking like Eid by Gum. I don't know what this is
about.
About Eid, and it's when the... Oh, George Snorwell, though, everybody. That's a good storyline title.
Cultural appropriation, say anything to do with Eid.
So I guess you want me to take the Daniel bit with this week. So it starts off in the week and he's telling Adam that Nicky's appealing. I was going to say Nicky's appalling at school today. Maybe she didn't even get a chance. She's appealing to the school because she was sacked last week because of her previous career options. And not options, her choice of career. You know what she did. Anyway, Adam says, look, I can't believe that you're still, being mates with her. I can't believe that she's sleeping at your flat. You're just asking for trouble. They have a bit of a moan about Max as well. I can't remember where we were up to with Max last week. I'm sure it will become clear as this goes on. Adam says, look, don't worry about Max, Daniel. You need to put things right with Daisy. And that was kind of the what Daniel was going for all week. But she's standing strong all week and refusing to... be give in so easily. Good for her. Still on Team Daisy, Gemma?
Yes.
So in the lawyer's office later, Adam and Sarah are talking about the Nicky situation, and Sarah seems to be a bit more lenient on Max than he is at the moment. He goes later to see Daisy as well and says, look, sorry for... Oh yeah, that's right, wasn't it? Because he had said... Was this the end of last week's episode that he had... Yeah, it was. The cliffhanger at the end of last Friday. Sorry, everybody, this is just coming back to me. Is that he discovered that Daisy hadn't been the one to reveal to the world that Nicky had used to be a sex worker. But it was actually Max that did it. So he goes over to the Rovers to say, sorry, Daisy, maybe I shouldn't have been an arse and said that it was you. And she's like, no, I'm not going to make this easy for you. And he says, well, can I beg? And she says, you're whiny enough already. I think that Daisy, again, been excellent this week. We did a poll, didn't we, about, and did you? Yeah, you did one about were you Team Nicky or Team Daisy here? And I think it was like 70% Team Daisy? 75% Team Daisy, which surprises me a little bit. I thought, do you think that we're supposed to be like that obviously on Team Daisy, or is it just not working for Team Nicky?
I think people tried really hard to make Coronation Street, I think, really, really wanted us to be more conflicted about this.
Yeah, but I'm not really. I mean, are you still just as staunchly Daisy as you were before?
I really feel bad for not being more on board with Nicky, but she's very abrasive.
Yeah, that's a good word. She absolutely is. She's a difficult one to like and sympathise with, I think. But Daisy's just very charming at the moment and sultry and stuff. And I don't know. I just
something about her is there.
Well, she's yeah.
I don't know what it is. A bit elusive.
Why? What are you insinuating?
She's sexy.
I hadn't even noticed. Anyway, so he says, look, sorry, let me beg and everything. And then he tries to grab her, doesn't he? He's like, what if I grab you and stop you leaving? And that was a bit of a shocking moment. And she's like, no, you can't do that anymore. I'm saying no to this. And she leaves. Did you, what did you think of that little moment there?
I don't remember it happening.
he just like, she's trying to get past him, and he says no, I'm going to stop. He just like puts his hands around her, the tops of her arms, and
headbutt him.
I think that they're I don't know what we're supposed to be thinking about Daniel at the moment, because generally he's supposed to be a fairly likable character, but he's very he's not making the best choices, is he? He's you know, he's being a bit like Ken and thinking that he's better than everyone else and he can do what he wants, and if he just, in this case, if he begs enough, he'll get it. But no, he's being awful. Anyway, Daniel and Nicky get back from school later. She seems pretty down. Looks like this appeal didn't really turn out the way they'd wanted it to. Shona turns up and says, look, I'm sorry about Max and the fact that he's done this to you, and it doesn't seem to go down very well, because Nicky's like, well, you know what, I've lost my job now, thank you very much. Apparently, so we were talking last week, weren't we, about were the school right to suspend Nicky over her career. And it was more the fact, I don't know whether it was that or whether it was more the fact that she hadn't admitted to it on the job application, wasn't it? But Nicky was saying here that the school says it goes against the school's ethical code or something like that. So I don't, that in that way, it's kind of saying, well, it is actually because you were a sex worker, and whether you told us or not, we couldn't have kept you on. What did you think of that?
What do you want me to say? What did you think of it?
Well, no, I just wonder.
I thought we discussed at the end.
I just say you're sorry. I'm just feel like I'm talking a lot, and I'm not giving you a chance.
Oh, I'm not interrupting enough.
Well, you can interrupt more if you like.
I haven't been interrupted at all.
I know. Please do interrupt me.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, fine. Okay, then I'll carry on then. So anyway, Maria comes over and she hears about it. She says it's not really fair either. Although she goes and has a massive gossip with Fizz in the pub, doesn't she? There was an awful lot of gossip going on in Coronation Street on Monday, and it felt like proper old school, because there was Fizz and Maria talking about Nicky. Who was it that was bitching about Gail in the gardens? Oh, it was Sally and Aggie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was brilliant. I loved all that. And probably Sean getting a bit in as well. Anyway, Max is listening into all of this conversation, looking a bit thoughtful. So what's he going to be up to? Later on, Nicky's in Victoria Gardens, telling her mum on the phone that she's lost a job and everything. Max comes in and tries to talk to her, and he does look kind of regretful. And I think as the week's going on, we're supposed to be feeling a bit more sorry about Max. Are you feeling any more sorry for Max this week?
When he nearly cut his balls off.
Yeah.
No.
No. At any point in the week, do you think he deserved it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So she says, look, bugger off, Max, not having anything to do with you. And then Daisy comes over and starts to look a little bit sorry for Nicky. She said, look, let's just go for a drink, shall we? Let's let bygones be bygones, bygone here. Declined, turned down. So Nicky goes to see Daniel later, who says, look, if you want to come and stay with me, you still can. The place is still there. So back in the Rovers later, Daisy's having a lovely scene with Jenny and Rita. Nice to see Rita back in it, propping up the bar where she belongs. And she says, look, do you think I should forgive Daniel? And then Jenny says, well, look, if you leave it much longer, Nicky's going to be flat on her back in that flat for Daniel. So you need to get in there fast, missus. Daisy goes out the Rovers to go and speak to Daniel, but to her horror, she sees Nicky and him moving all of her stuff into the flat. So, too slow, Daisy. Storms up to him saying, I can't believe you've replaced me already. What's going on here then? Storms back to the Rovers again. Later on, he shows up at the Rovers, gets both barrels from Jenny. He tries to say, look, Nicky's on his sofa, we're not sharing a bed or anything, but Jenny says, oh yeah, how long is that going to last then? So he gives up. And then Rita does a good line. She's like, oh, you, that Daisy of yours, bet she's hard work though, isn't she? And Jenny's like, yeah, maybe you're right. So later on, who's outside the flat? It's Nicky, isn't it? And a journalist comes up next to her, and she wants to do a piece on her dismissal, and it seems like she basically just wants the dirt on Nicky's past. And Nicky's like, I'll give you a quote, all right, and says to Macy, a kid behind her, cover your ears, which is kind of funny. Inside...
Well, the whole point, you're supposed to feel sorry for her because she's being cornered with her kid.
Yeah, is this the whole reason that Maisie's been brought into it, just to try and get
Honestly,
a little
think
bit
it's
more
for that
sympathy
reason.
for Nicky? It's still not particularly working, but anyway, so Nicky's absolutely fuming when she goes inside. She's like, "What about when Mum sees this article that they're doing about me, and the family friends and the neighbours and everything? They're all going to be mortified." She needs something else to occupy her mind, though. So she says, "Look, why don't I go and speak to Daisy on your behalf, Daniel? See if I can smooth things over with you and her." So she goes over to the Rovers, tells Daisy that Daniel's utterly mad about her. You need to get back together. He wanted to do something nice for you, but Daisy says, "No, not having any of that." And this is when, as Nicky leaves, she overhears Maria and Fizz having a big gossip about her. I can't remember. They're just saying, "Oh, she's the TA at school. She used to be a sex worker and stuff." Nicky leaves, and so Nicky sort of leaves the pub. Maria chases after her and says, "I'm really, really sorry." But before they can get into the conversation, she gets a message from her aunt. This article is already in the Gazette. This is going to be her label forever. She's never going to be able to shake it. Everyone's always going to think of me as being a prostitute. And Leanne did get a couple of shout outs in Monday's episode, didn't she? As it ends, at the end of the episode, so Daniel and David having another bit of a ding dong in the street. Max turns up. Max seems to think that the comments on the Gazette were kind of funny, and David says, "Well, look, you can't blame kids for sharing the goss around." And this is what I was saying last week on the podcast. It was really bad, but although they shouldn't, Daniel shouldn't be surprised that if this news comes out in the paper, people are going to be posting it all around. It's only to be expected, unfortunately. But Daniel says, "Right, no, this is it. I've had enough about this. I've been keeping the secret that Max spiked Amy's drink long enough. He deserves to get a taste of his own medicine." So we found the fallout of that on Wednesday. Starts off with Amy and Tracy having a bit of time in Rolls Royce for their breakfast, but Amy can't get her head off her phone, and then something happens. She gets a message which sends her in a right huff, and she kind of storms out the cafe, and we're left to wonder what's going on there. Meanwhile, Max is trying to skive off school, but he says, "Look, I'm not trying to avoid Daniel or anything. I just don't want to go in. I don't care what Daniel says." There was a confusing bit there. Like I think that maybe was David trying to get him to tell Amy first or something. I don't know. He didn't want to do it. So he goes off, and David tells Shona that he needs to make Daniel see sense and keep quiet about this whole situation. And Shona's like, "Well, it's going to come out sooner or later," and she's not wrong. So Daniel sees Max going off to school and tells Nicky that he's going to pay for what he's done. Terrible teacher. Nicky tells him she really needs him to just drop it for her and Macy's sake. You can't have this grudge. It's getting in the way of our friendship and everything. I just don't need this to hang around my neck anymore, actually. So at school, there's this scene where Amy's up against the wall, and it was that Victoria Lodge place again that we were talking about last week where they filmed it, and there's some funny weird sound effects going on, and then she kind of just literally out of the blue launches herself at this boy and accuses him of spiking her drink. Brett, he was called. He tries to walk off, and she chucks a cup of tea over him. So this starts having a bit of a Barney with him saying that, "Look, I wasn't even at the dance." So this was going back to the Valentine's dance, I think, wasn't it? And he's like, "I wasn't even there. I was at Sky's party. It's on her Instagram or whatever, so you can check it out. I'm not lying." So it seems that Amy has been... I didn't get this. So Amy had been saying that she's been cyber stalking all the boys at school or something, didn't she? And she's just been obsessed over the last few months of who it was that spiked her drink. And I saw some people saying online, and I kind of agreed with this, that we hadn't seen any of, well, not very much anyway, of Amy wondering who it was and the fallout from it. It just felt like the spiking story went a little bit quiet after it happened. Did you think that?
You're just supposed to assume that she's been stewing on it.
Yeah. Was it the Valentine's one or was it the ice ball? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, she's been stewing on it, but today it's Brett that gets the brunt of her anger about it, and he's like, "No, it wasn't me, I didn't do it." Max says, "Oh no, he was only looking at you then because he was shy and he fancied you." Well, that doesn't go anywhere, but anyway, they go off, and Daniel says to Mac, he kind of comes along, he's been watching, and he says, "Oh, this was our fault that this happened. We need to end this now." So Daniel has a bit of a heart-to-heart then with David about Amy, and he says, look, she isn't coping. We need to do something about this. So then there was a really lovely scene in the cafe later where Amy admits to Asher, this is where she says that she's been cyber-stalking half the boys in the year group for weeks. What are people going to think about her? They're going to think about me, but I really, really need to know who did this. Max comes in and Asher sort of lays into him. Max just wants to know how Amy's doing, because he's feeling mega guilty about all this after the tea throwing incident. And she says, look, well, actually, I'm scared. I can barely sleep. I got no self-confidence, all because someone drugged me, wanting to sexually assault me. And whoever it is, they or he is probably laughing at me now. And then Max says, actually, it was me. Shocker. So he says, look, I wasn't meaning to drug you or anything, but Amy is absolutely livid at this point because, you know, somebody that's been so close to her that she's just realised is the one that did it. Have you got any idea, Max, of what it must have been like for me? And he says, look, I meant to be drugging Daniel. I just wanted to punish him. I wanted him to feel helpless. And Amy says, look, you're disgusting. You need to stay away from me. And Max says, no, look, he's the disgusting one. He knew it was me that did it as well. He's known for weeks. And then they kind of throw the pushing down the stairs bit in there as well, which doesn't seem to have had any consequences, has it? The fact that Daniel was accused of pushing him down the stairs. Was this common knowledge before, or was this just a big revelation that didn't actually go anywhere? Did you get that?
It just seemed like I don't know, did people think he was being dramatic? Or
I don't know, maybe.
Like, this revelation went completely unnoticed by everybody.
I suppose Max had accused Daniel of doing it before, and Daniel was just like saying, no, I didn't. So maybe to people like Amy, it just felt like he was slogging a dead horse.
But also, it's a bit like he went, oh, I drugged you, but listen, it's not about you, it's about me.
Yeah, it did come across a little bit like that, didn't it? Yeah, I think you're right. So Amy, she kind of storms out of there and then goes and lays into Daniel on the street, basically broadcasting everything to the world that he'd been doing, including Tracy, who just so happened to be there. And she even said, look, well, at least Max is honest. At least he told me the truth, whereas you have been keeping this from me for weeks. So Max goes home, tells David and Shona what's happened, and they say, well, you've done the right thing there. Let's just hope that she doesn't go to the police. So later on, and Steve and Tracy are telling Ken what's happened. He can't believe it. He says, look, there must have been something that drove Max to do this. That drove... Was it? Is they talking about the thing that just drove Max to drug her, or push Daniel to push Max down the stairs? I don't remember. Tracy and Steve are feeling a little bit less forgiving on Max, though. And on Daniel, though. And Tracy says, well, tell you what, he's out of the family. So Steve has a go. Everyone's just, I think, if you get the notes sent through to this week, you'll notice that so-and-so has a go at so-and-so seemed to be a bit of a theme for the week. Everyone was just striding up to each other and having a massive slanging match with them in the middle of the street. Nice and old school. But this time it's Steve who has a go at Daniel in the street, saying, you need to stay away from my daughter. Later on, Amy's kind of confiding in Jacob, her little safe place. She's telling him about everything, but says, look, you've got to promise not to do anything to Max or Daniel about this. And he's just like, I just want to protect you. I just wish you told me sooner about everything that you'd been through. Later on, we got Daniel with Ken, who tells him that he should have expected that reaction from Steve, really. Ken can't believe that he would choose to keep things quiet for Max over telling the truth to his own niece. So in front of the TV later, Max is kind of telling David, looks like the McDonald's are going to be madder at Daniel than they are me. Hooray, I win. But then, oh no, there's a knock at the door. It's the police. They've come to arrest him. Oh, Max.
They let him out, though.
They did. It almost felt like that arrest had, at least this week, pretty much, very few consequences, doesn't it? I was expecting to have, the interview scene, or they even talked about going to court, which I suppose would have happened had he not ended up in hospital. But I don't know, it just felt like there wasn't a whole lot of fallout for that. Maybe that's still to come. But there was some great stuff with Max later. You had the token silly scene with stupid Gail at the beginning. Sorry, I know that shouldn't be saying that, but she was being ridiculous again at the beginning of the episode. and seeming to be speaking very slowly. We both said, didn't we?
Sounded like I felt like I'd accidentally put it in. Yeah.
Slow motion. And she was there with her, doing her Mrs. Mop impression. Silly thing. Anyway, she says, look, people at court are going to be judging you, David, as well, so make sure you dress up smartly too. Daniel has another go at talking to Amy in the street later, but she don't want to know. He's dead to her as far as she's concerned. And then we get a scene in Trim Up North.
For the first time in like 2 years.
I think it was. I literally don't know whether we've... Well, yeah, I don't know whether we've seen in there since COVID times. I suppose it's been a bit less than 2 years because there may have been some scenes in there in the bits that were filmed before we went on lockdown. But I'm struggling to remember any time that we've actually seen anything filmed in there since then. So, hooray!
Well, the only time they had anything was when Kelly let Stu in there. But did he go in?
I think we just saw them going through the door, but we didn't see anything in there. So, and I don't know whether it's a case of it's a small set and they for COVID restrictions and everything, or lots of soft surfaces. I don't know, but anyway, it was cool to see it back in there. Vin Diesel, the Weasel, still rocking it out on the counter there. But so Max is kind of sitting on the seat and getting absolutely no sympathy for his plight from Maria. He says he just wants to explain to everyone that the spike was meant for Daniel, but David says, look, no, you're not getting on your social media, you're not texting everyone and telling everyone what's going to happen. We're going to court later. Give me your phone. I'm going to lock it in a safe. And then that was kind of the cue for, there's going to be a bit later in the episode where Max needs his phone, maybe. And it did. Because he gets laid into by Adam later in the episode as well for doing that to Amy. And back at home, Max has a massive fallout with David. He says he hates him. Not my real dad. Classic. David says, well, tell you what, Max, you're a disgrace and I hope you do get sent down in court today. Maybe this is going to teach you a lesson. Your own mother would be ashamed of you. So Max heads off in his grey hoodie, and I thought that was cool because it was the grey hoodie gang. How do you think it would be an honourable member of the grey hoodie gang?
Easily.
Yeah, what a slime ball, what a scrote he is. And he goes to the barber's and breaks the glass on the door, smashes his way in so he can try and go and get his phone. He goes round to where the safe was that that David's put his phone in, opens the lock a little bit, gets his phone out, and on the way out he has a bit of an accident, doesn't he? That made me wince somewhat. And I don't know whether I was alone, but as Max was sort of stepping over that spiked bit of glass and all the blood was coming out, I was like, yeah, definitely crossing my legs. It felt, it was really well done and quite gruesome, wasn't it?
I don't know why they didn't just go full hog.
And what?
Well, I was like, you hurt his thigh. Why don't you just slice his balls off?
Well, I did think that this was maybe on the cusp of being a little bit too gruesome for pre-watershed already.
His femoral artery.
It was.
Could have died.
It made an awful mess.
Imagine if he gets sepsis.
Yeah, is he gonna lose his other leg?
His other leg?
No. Oh yeah, he's got two, hasn't he? Jack's lost his left leg. No, Jack's lost his right leg. This would have been Max's left leg, and they could have together made a whole one-legged person.
Tell you what they can never do.
What?
Three-legged race.
No, definitely not. Anyway, so he's there. He's bleeding out on the against the wall next to the Trim Up North. He's kind of going, "Help me," but nobody can hear him.
Crawl a bit further, you daft idiot.
He was, he didn't.
Oh, I'm hurt.
Have you ever had your nearly your femoral artery cut? You've ever been bleeding out?
I've nearly had my balls cut off. I just went for help and they went, you don't worry, you're not supposed to have any. And I was like, you have no idea how relieved I am to hear that.
Anyway, he gets found by Simon and Jacob, who've been having their own issues, which we'll get to later. And they kind of this just plays part of the Jacob redemption storylines. We'll go into that later. But they save him. He's very woozy. Jacob's trying to distract him by talking about video games or something, and then ambulance arrives, and it's like David's trying to chase the ambulance down the street or beat it in a race. David, the ambulance is coming down Victoria Street, and David's like, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to get there first. So they get to the hospital. Max is kind of stretchered down the corridor, and later on, David and Shona are told that he's in a pretty bad way. He's in hyperbolemic shock.
Hyperbolemic?
Yeah, so we had diabolemic last week, hyperbolemic this week.
What does that mean?
Well, it said that his heart is struggling. And it may have said more than that, but he's got shards of glass in his leg. They're doing everything they can, but
he's gonna die.
David was saying, "Oh, he's gonna be okay, isn't he?" And they're like, "Well, we're doing all we can, sir." And so they get back to work on him, and David ends the episode by saying, "Oh, Shona, I wish I hadn't had that argument with Max earlier, because what if he dies and he thinks that I don't love him?"
Have to always bear that in mind.
Never have an argument, in case somebody nearly gets their balls sliced off. Yeah, okay. So, thoughts on this week, Gemma? What did you think? What do you reckon about Max? What did you think? Even just like this last bit today.
It's a stupid idea to cut your balls off, because you might need them later.
What for?
Slapping against your thigh in a kind of merry little rhythm as you run around naked in the house.
Oh,
is that what you
feathers
stuff.
Do? That's what that's what we do.
What else? How else are you supposed to entertain yourself in summer when your balls get sweatily stuck to your leg and you have to jig about to try and loosen them?
It's filth, Gemma.
Without anybody noticing. I know what you men do.
You've been on the Ask Men Reddit and subreddit.
I know what they say.
I was quite surprised when this happened today, because I must admit I had seen a preview picture of Max staggering out of Trim Up North, but
we know there's a bar in there, so it's not that surprising.
Well, I can't remember. I thought he was either staggering out of Trim Up North, or maybe it was the tube station or something, because I just kind of fleetingly saw it. The train station, the metro, the tram station.
Thank you.
But I thought, is he going to get drunk or something, or is he going to get whacked over the head or something? So I wasn't quite prepared for the level of bloody terror that was inflicted upon us. And usually I'm not at all bad with squeamish kind of things like this. But this
was it just really because you're a man and you were worried?
I don't know. It was just like, oh my gosh, and I thought it had quite interesting parallels to Kylie's death as well, because she met her maker bleeding out all over the street, didn't she? So they probably would have gone to the same bit of heaven or something, because that's how they categorise them.
Was there a heaven where you're like, don't mention blood, knives, stabbing, cobbles, screaming, David?
I think you're right. So I thought it was very well done. It was I just thought it was almost a bit too bloody to be shown before 9 o'clock.
No, I love it more.
But
more.
Even more with Max.
What do you mean?
Max isn't the most popular of characters, is he?
No.
If you could have seen, I'm just saying, if you could see any character get stabbed through the leg with a sharp bit of glass.
Yeah.
Can't think of very many people
Simon.
that you. Yeah, Simon could have deserved.
Why didn't Max say, "Simon, can you get my phone for me?"
Yeah, I didn't manage to get it out. Can you just hop in there and get it yourself, please? Because Simon's quite little as well. I don't know whether he'd have got the oomph to vault that bit of glass.
It's not about how tall you are, it's about how low your balls drag.
Oh my gosh, that's balls on the podcast.
It's laziness is what it was.
What?
Well, because it's like I could just remove this piece of glass that's just sticking and jutting out right in the centre of the bottom of the window, but I'm a lazy bum, so I'm just going to scooch over it. Oh no, it's got me right where it shouldn't have done.
Tell you what, if Max hasn't been so recently recast, and obviously they kind of want to keep hold of him, so I don't actually think he's going to be in a bad way at all. Towards the end of the episode tonight, I was almost kind of getting the thought of, is this going to be like a big surprise twist for the year? Are they actually going to kill Max? Did you get that thought at all, or were you just like, we'll be fine?
I didn't. I think he'll be fine.
Because, it was around this time last year. I think, in fact, it might be the anniversary next week, actually, when Seb's brutal kicking happened. And it almost feels like it's about time for there to be another massive, undisclosed, shocking twist. And having Max kill himself, basically, by doing this, could have been it. But, yeah, I don't think that they... they would have recast Max. I mean, I don't know whether Harry McDermott, whether he would have been able to carry the storyline as well as Paddy Beaver, but if they were going to kill Paddy's Max off at this time, I would have thought that he got a bit shortchanged. Like, yeah,
Well, it'd
you're
be a
welcome.
bit-
You're in the Platt family, but we're going to kill you off after less than a year.
It'd be a bit like what they wanted to do in Lost, where they wanted to have Brad Pitt be the pilot and kill him off.
Yeah, exactly,
Spoiler, it
exactly
didn't
the
happen.
same, exactly the same. So
So Paddy Beaver is the Brad Pitt of Coronation Street.
he likes to think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if what he thinks of himself.
We haven't had any reaction from Daniel to this, have we? What do you think he's going to do?
Ooh, I hope my balls don't get sliced off.
Anything more about that other than ball slicing?
I'm in no way responsible for this because I didn't lock his phone in a drawer.
Because Nicky was saying, look, you just need to drop it about Max, and you think that maybe, I don't know, is Daniel going to say, well, serves him right?
If I was Nicky, I'd just say, Daniel, the fact you're feuding with a teenage boy and you haven't had a comprehensive victory as of yet makes me think that you're in over your head and you should give up now.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It does sound rather stupid that he
It does
just can't
sound
let
rather
it
stupid.
drop. He's bigger and older than him, and
So you
supposedly
should've just
more
pushed him harder.
professional. If he doesn't end up losing his job over this, I mean, the fact that Nicky lost hers after a few days and Daniel's still clinging
Well, they
on to
can't
his.
afford to lose staff like this,
So you
especially
need to
not with
keep-
a big Edinburgh trip coming up.
Oh yeah, what's going on with the Edinburgh trip? We were saying we thought that might even happen this week, didn't we? But I was a bit surprised that in a way that Nicky didn't get her job back. Last week I hadn't even thought that she would appeal, but when they said, "Oh, we're going to go and appeal for her," I thought, "Oh yeah, she'll probably just get her job back," and then that was a useless cliffhanger for this week. But the fact that she didn't get it back partly made me think, oh, why did they bother going for the appeal then if that didn't make any difference? But yeah, maybe a little bit of a surprise. So is the trip just going to be Mrs. Crawshaw and Daniel now?
She wishes.
She does wish. Did we see any of her this week? I don't know that we did. Yeah, just I wonder what's going to happen from there. Daniel is just a very, very interesting character at the moment. How are you feeling about him? Do you like him? Do you support him? Are you finding him interesting despite him being very, very flawed?
I don't. I mean, it's all a bit bad, isn't it, for him?
Yes, but are you finding him interesting to watch? Like, are you? Yeah. What do you think? Are you enjoying this story and seeing what he's doing?
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because the main thing is about Nicky and stuff. I don't know. It just feels like, I feel like Coronation Street sometimes wants you to think that the worst thing about being a sex worker is how people react when they find out.
Mm.
But obviously that's not the main problem. Before now, Nicky's main problem with it wasn't that, was it? It was that she was ashamed and she wished she'd never done it, and she seems to have like PTSD, but we've just dumped all that kind of nuance to just have, oh, the worst thing is the way that people react, as though if only people were cool with it, then everyone would just be fine with being a sex worker and it'd be a totally normal job.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more to it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just enjoying all the Daniel stuff, and I also think.
What do you think of Daniel?
I just think I'm finding him interesting, but he's another character that I'm like saying, oh, am I supposed to like him? Am I not supposed to like him? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe that doesn't matter. The fact that he's making me not know whether to like him or not, because he's clearly terrible in many ways, but he's also a Barlow. He's also a main character. He's not necessarily being written as a villain. Like, a lot of the time he's like kind of laid back and relaxed and everything. Yeah, I'm very much enjoying the complexities of it, and I'm definitely enjoying the Team Daisy versus Team Nicky stuff. I think it's great. I think it's been a quite a strong story this week. I also really enjoyed the stuff with Amy and Max. I think that we've been not too kind about Max and the recast Max and everything on the podcast since it happened, but I definitely think that this week was his best week. And that scene where Amy in the cafe was telling Max how she's been feeling and, wondering who it's been and everything. I thought that was really fab stuff. Elma Vaney is always great, and she was cool with the scene with Jacob as well this week, but that particular one I thought was very good to watch. There were lots of moments this week where I was sitting back thinking, yeah, I good scene. Right, Gemma. Apart from saving Max on the street, what else has Jacob been getting up to this week?
Are you ever going to use the pun Jacob's ladder?
I'm trying to think of ways desperately to do it. I mean, I suppose maybe that's just the title of his redemption storyline, because he's trying to get the ladder out of.
Are you going to use cream crackered ever?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe. For Jacob's crackers.
Yeah.
Nice.
On Monday, Jacob's not having much luck in the job hunting department, and he's telling Amy and Mary about it. Amy goes to the factory to ask Carla if there's any jobs going for him, and Carla is not in a very forgiving mood, so Amy has a go at her. Everyone's related to everybody, so...
I know, that's the thing at the moment. Whenever anybody, like, tries to get a job somewhere or tries to get somebody to do a favour for somebody, it's... If they do it, it's because that they're related in some way. Everybody's got some particular familial link for either doing something or not doing something to help
Carla
someone.
and Amy really, on paper, have nothing to do with each other, but Carla is Peter's wife and Peter is Amy's uncle.
Yeah.
So she's basically Amy's aunt.
Yeah.
By marriage.
But then Carla doesn't want Jacob to work in the factory because he was a bit nasty to Simon, who is that's also Simon's.
Yeah, because Simon is
Peter's
son. So also her.
So maybe they're a bit closer. Yeah.
Are they? What's the word for?
He's her nephew.
They're nibblings.
I don't know whether there's a word for nephew in these together. But anyway. So, yeah, Amy's just has a go at Carla, doesn't she?
What happened to Forgiveness and Redemption? I don't know what programme she's watching. Who ever thought that Carla gives a crap about that? Anyway, she's like, stuff you. Huffs off, and Carla looks like, oh, she stood up to me. What a great...
I like your chutzpah, she says.
I like your chutzpah.
Yes.
Why don't we have a word for that from England? Everybody's just... I think we have plucky.
I like your balls.
Be shame.
Be careful if they were sliced off.
Just cherish them while you have them. She sees Amy and Jacob in the factory later, and
Max is probably really disappointed that he had his sudden going through puberty later, because if it had been, the last Max, his balls probably would have been a little bit higher. Then he would have had no risk at all.
Only you can tell me this. It's a male thing, but I guess Ken's probably just crawl out ahead.
Yeah, Ken definitely.
To sniff out, is there any danger?
Oh
is that
God.
What happens?
That's not a mental picture I want to dwell on for too long, to be honest.
Is that a superpower that old men have? They can send out their balls on a recce. No,
don't think
you
so.
Let me know later. We'll have a chat. Carla sees Amy and Jake.
I'm not an old man.
Well, you probably know more about it. Did your dad ever take your dad not take you aside and say, if if they ever detach, they will come back. They're just going out for a walk.
This is foul, disgusting stuff.
Carla sees Amy and Jacob in the factory later, and she says, let's do a trial period.
Hurrah.
God, I wish I had a trial period. I'd say no thank you, none of them anymore. Wednesday, Toyah is not happy to see Jacob in the office because Jacob was mean to Simon. Simon is Leanne's adopted sort of son, and Toyah and Leanne are not related, but they're also sisters.
Yeah, so I'd be mad if I was in that situation
I'd be like,
too.
Oh,
he was cool because he was just sitting there with his feet up, wasn't he, in the office? And she's like, "What the hell are you doing here?"
He had writing on his jumper, and I never worked out what it said.
No, I don't know. I don't remember.
She has to go at Carla. Can't believe that she's given him a job, and Carla's like, nobody does anything in this factory, so anyone can have a job here. Toyah says he's a drug dealer. And do Leanne and Simon know about this? And the guy says, tough, I don't get it. It's my call, I decide. And also, there's some kind of comments at some point about how his skills at being a drug dealer will help him.
Oh, yeah, he's packaging with dispatch or something, she says, doesn't she?
I suppose the customers will be like, why are my pants rolled up and hidden inside this pineapple.
Yeah,
Don't get it.
And if they order them, he has to go and bury them under the allotment in Victoria Gardens. Secret drop-off.
He's on the phone trying to sell pants in grams. So, Carla takes Simon and Chris Gascoigne, you friend.
I've written Chris Gascoigne because in that particular scene, and we commented on this when we were watching it, it didn't look like Peter Barlow. It literally looked like Chris Barlow had dropped up to filming. Chris Gascoigne had dropped up to filming one day. Didn't have time to go into makeup or costume or anything. Just wandered on set, didn't it?
Yeah, and he was even sitting like. And I know I haven't seen Chris Gascoigne as himself very much. But he really did look like a bit like he was just chilling out, doing a bit of a run through.
Yeah, because he had the clipboard with the menu on, didn't it? There might as well have been his script. It's because he had his glasses on and everything.
And he was like sitting with his ankle on his knee, wasn't he? Like chilled out.
Yeah.
Like proper chilled.
Because you've seen a little bit of Chris Gascoigne in even like that Ken documentary last week.
He looks like a cool dude.
Yeah.
Whereas,
he was looking far too cool than Peter should be in this scene, is what I'm saying.
So, Carla takes them out and she breaks the news about Jacob, and Simon's fuming, and Carla's trying to defend herself, but nobody's really listening. Amy really, really needs some more money because
they're living in a dodgy bedsit.
Also, Jacob keeps buying biscuits and burying them in the garden because he thinks they're going to grow into a tree.
He doesn't.
Well, also, biscuits aren't that expensive, are they?
No.
I'm always surprised at how cheap biscuits are, and I always wonder why we don't eat them more. But it's because they are so cheap. It's dangerous. You can easily eat a packet of biscuits, not even break a pound coin.
Yeah, Carla's telling Peter that Amy really, really needs money to live, so this is why I gave Jacob a job in the factory to try and help our kind of relation here.
Simon's storming off, and Peter's like, this isn't a good idea, Carla, so she gets left alone in the bistro. Then we have a bit of Kelly, don't we?
That was an odd little scene there.
She finds Simon moping in the gardens, and he tells her what's happened. He's not she's like, look, just forgive everybody, who cares?
Yeah,
he gets annoyed.
She talked about the fact that when she was living on the streets and somebody tried to sell her drugs, Jacob came and chased him away. So she's like, yeah, he's quite cool, actually. So Simon's like, does everybody think that Jacob is brilliant? Yes, Simon, yes, they do.
I mean, compared to whom? You? Yes.
I think if we were to do a Twitter poll between who's your favourite character right now, Simon or Jacob, I think we all know who'd win here, wouldn't we, Simon?
Simon, if I had a bit of glass and I had to slice someone up, and it was between you and Jacob.
What if it was Max and Simon though?
Well, that would be difficult, wouldn't it? Simon goes to the factory and tells everyone Jacob is a drug dealer, and a violent one at that, and took advantage of his mum when he was grieving Oliver. And when you actually think about what Jacob really did do to Leanne, he was an absolute arsehole. He was horrible.
I know.
He really, really was the worst.
I wonder whether the Corrie writers kind of wish they hadn't made him
quite so evil.
Yeah, because a lot of the time we enjoyed him last year, and I don't think he was like proper nasty a lot of the time. He was more cheeky chappy sort of guy, wasn't he? But he sometimes said unkind things like that. And now,
who hasn't said unkind things?
And now Simon is using that as ammunition against him. But
yeah, I would. I wouldn't be happy about it. So he leaves. Everybody is just, oh my goodness, can't believe it. Even Dirk.
Oh yeah, Dirk. He does. He just kind of gives him a look and then gets back on with his clothes hanger rearranging or whatever it is that he does.
Jacob tries to apologise, but nobody's having it. Later on, he goes and brings everyone cakes, and he puts them on the table, and he tries to get everyone to eat them.
And that's the surefire way to get people's hearts in the factory, isn't it? Cake run from Roy's.
I'm not going to eat your cream horn.
No.
And then he does a speech about turning his life around or something, like he's trying to pitch for The Apprentice, and everybody kind of like starts to be won over a little bit, and Kirk eats his Claire.
Yeah, some bit like, I think Sean gives Kirk a bit of a look for falling for Jacob's speech, I think he would say. But yeah, so he seems to be winning them round a little bit.
Carla congratulates Jacob for doing a good job as they leave the factory. And he doesn't even do a little like walk out of the factory, turn around, look at it like, yeah, I'm finally making an honest bloke out of myself.
I finally got a job in a factory. I'm finally one of the Corrie characters.
Simon's waiting for him, and he starts snarling about the time that Jacob was playing Wheels on the Bus or singing Wheels on the Bus to Leanne.
Simon's obsessed with this.
I would be upset.
Is there anything else that Jacob's done wrong, Simon, or is it just this one thing?
He sang the Wheels on the Bus, and he's gonna wait. He says, "I'm gonna wait for you to slip up," and then he bashes into his shoulder and storms off. And I don't think anybody in the country was intimidated by this.
What about by Simon's tiny garden fork in tonight's episode? Did that have you quaking in your boots?
No. He's one of these people where he's so annoying, you just feel like you want to scream into a ball and drop kick him into the canal or something. You know what I mean?
I think he was doing a really good job of being annoying, because he couldn't
so
possibly.
unaware.
He was in no way came across as intimidating.
I know,
but I don't think he was playing them
realises
as comedy intimidating. But the fact that, then when they had in tonight's episode the scenes where Jacob was clearly making fun of him, sort of been on the phone pretending to be talking to his dealer, that was hilarious, because it was, let's all laugh at Simon, isn't he?
Simon's a dense idiot.
Isn't he useless?
Poor old Simon. He has another go on Friday at Jacob in the street, and Jacob pretends to, like you just said, he's pretending he's got a drugs drop at Victoria Gardens, and Simon's listening, so Simon confronts him and I said, "I'm going to dig up your stash," and it's just a packet of custard creams.
This was well played on both parts there. I was mostly just watching Jack James Ryan for his little grins and things when Simon was like, "I know your game," and the fact that he was playing along with it, I just found it absolutely hilarious. I think the writers know that a lot of people don't particularly like Simon that much, and making him look like a donut by getting him to believe that Jacob actually was doing a drugs drop here was good move. I enjoyed that immensely.
I think it was risky, because if he had pierced that packet with his fork, they would have been inedible.
Yeah, that's true.
And those are custard creams as well. There's a good biscuit.
That is a quality biscuit, a custard cream. Yeah, if only they did grow into a custard cream tree like Jacob suggested.
Those malty ones, you know what I mean? Those weird malty ones. Yeah. Just have them. Just screw them. Just throw them. Maybe they'd be good compost. Or those figgy ones. I'll just let them rot. Jacob tries to make bygones be bygones. Simon's not laying up. Then there's the Max drama.
Yeah,
we all know what happened there.
I kind of didn't talk about it too much there. So while Max is bleeding out on the ground, it's a bit of a Good Samaritan situation, isn't there? And Jacob's saying, "Look, we need to go and help him. He looks in a really bad way."
And he's fine.
And he clearly wasn't fine. He had blood all over his hands. And later Simon has a bit of a revelation about himself, doesn't he? Maybe I am a nasty git. But Jacob goes over and does some first aid, and he's like, "Max, let me help you. Let me tie this around your leg and everything." And Max is like, "No, I don't want anything to do with you." But he's a jolly good chap, was Jacob.
He just wants him by the Feel Good Samaritan Award.
He does.
Jacob tells Simon that revenge is overrated, but then he urges himself not to beat himself up, and Simon's saying, "Oh, my family would be ashamed of him." I mean, what now?
He said if Max had died, or if they had known that I was willing to let Max bleed to death, maybe
Simon,
they wouldn't be that proud of me.
No, they would just sigh and go, "Sounds like the sort of thing you'd do, Simon." So
they go to the Rovers then, don't they, Jacob and Simon?
Jacob tells Simon that he did a first aid course. Oh, you know what? Nobody on this street ever does anything good for anybody without having a bloody backstory as to why they did it. We got Daisy going, "Oh, I know you shouldn't swallow batteries because my brother died in a swimming pool." And now you've got Jacob saying, "I did a first aid course because my best friend got stabbed and he died." I mean, do you need to do a first aid course what happened? Did everyone just go, "Oh, walk it off"? And now Jacob went to a first aid course and they were like, "No, when you get stabbed, you die." And he's like, "Yes, I wondered what happened. You're right. I should have done something about it."
I thought that this, we jest, but I thought this is a really well done scene. Jacob, I think this is like his best ever episode today. And I've been singing his praises for the past year anyway. But I think a lot of what he did in tonight's episode was some of his best work. The custard cream tree. And then this scene as well, where he was kind of very open and and that was letting his enemy Simon in on a very harrowing part of his past. I just thought that he played it really, really well, and is certainly lending more weight to his redemption for everybody, really.
Well, he says Harvey recruited me about that time, and he says when he recruits you, you're his property and you've got no choice. But then when he got sent down, I took the opportunity to escape, and I'm free of that life now. Are we all forgetting that he was a little mini drug dealer for that bit?
He didn't have any choice, Gemma. Harvey made him.
No, Harvey was in prison when Kelly was on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
And Jacob was like, oh, do a bit of drugs. No. You're not allowed any drugs. Only naughty people allow drugs.
He was just wheeling himself off drug dealing. Then.
I'm a drug dealer for justice, so I only give it to criminals.
Yeah.
Makes sense. He escaped. That's nice. Amy finds out what happened, and when she discovers Simon and Jacob are sharing a drink, and it looks like they're all friends.
Hooray! Did you enjoy Jacob this week?
Yes.
Thoughts about him working in the factory?
Oh, everyone works there.
I suppose it's somewhere, isn't it? If they're going to have him work somewhere, why not that? I did think that Carla was maybe a bit too quick to employ him.
It would have made sense. Wouldn't it have made more sense if Sarah had done it? Because she's such an idiot.
Well, so I don't know. I'm losing track of who's mad at who at the moment, but maybe I don't know. But any case, it was. I liked seeing him do his little speech. I think that his redemption just seems to be working and feeling a lot more authentic than Kelly's, don't you think? Where it feels like we're being almost like forced to sing Kelly's praises and say, look, she's not the same person that she once was before, and look at all this horrible drama that she's going through, and I don't know, with Jacob it's just coming across as a lot more natural, and it's not like, Millie's a fantastic actress, but I think that the natural charms of Jacob is just making me want to forget his past a lot more easily.
Well, I want to point out a more obvious comparison as far as redemption goes, and that's between him and Nicky. Because Nicky, the technical legal definite term is prostitution, and it's illegal in this country. I think certain aspects of it certainly are illegal. Not everything about it is illegal. It's one of those weird things where certain bits are and certain bits aren't. But she is certainly not, I would say, has not lived a sinfuler life as he has. She's hurt nobody really, except herself. She is, Jacob was a drug dealer, and we all know exactly what kind of things that leads to and how much misery that's caused. We've seen it firsthand in the show. The worst thing that Nicky's ever done is make people a bit confused about whether they really like her or not. And she's getting absolutely no sympathy from anybody anywhere.
I bet really. Nicky's been responsible for the breakup of a few marriages, though.
I know, but you see what I mean? Like, they've both indulged in criminal activity, but one of them is getting her name smeared through the papers and getting fired, and the other one's being given a job and burying biscuits in the garden, and everyone thinks he's a jolly good chap. And it just feels like it's it's the double standard of being punished for something. When you're a woman, you get I
just think it's the natural personalities of the characters.
I honestly think if I was going to hang out with either of them, and neither of them had done anything wrong, I'd rather hang out with Jacob. I mean, even given what they are and what their past are, I just think Nicky's just really, really, like I said, abrasive.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But she's being defensive because she's being attacked and she knows what people think of her. Whereas I think that, honestly, isn't it tragic though, the world that we live in, where there's less stigma about being a drug dealer than there is about being an escort?
Yeah, that's the thing with both Kelly and Nicky. They made sure that the writers were showing everybody a good chunk of characters like shouting at them in the street, or being in the papers about it, or look, everybody's mistreating them because of what they've done, and it's not happening in quite the same way for Jacob.
Jacob's not getting quite as much, but it's the I just want to point out there's also different societal expectations for men and women. And when a woman does something wrong, it's somehow worse because everybody expects her to be nice and lovely, whereas a man has a bit more leeway to be a scallywag because, being nice is not necessarily a personality trait that people expect or want from men.
There was I suppose he did have everybody blanking him at the factory, and that's his little issue, that not everybody thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. Well, he's also
had Steve and Tracy. Steve shouting at him in the street and stuff. And also Leanne confronting him, etc. But it doesn't feel... I think also it feels like Nicky's just given up. And so did Kelly a little bit. Like, yeah, I am terrible. I am awful.
Yeah,
whereas
and then just
Jacob's
went and...
like, I refuse to be defined by this thing that I've done. I'm better than that. And I want to prove it to everybody. Whereas I think also there's a bit of self-flagellation that we expect of women when they've done something wrong. They have to really, really suffer.
Go and have a good old cry about it.
Feel bad about themselves, and they have to acknowledge that they've been terrible. And then we might just think about maybe letting them redeem themselves by cooking our tea for us.
But I think it's proven in the case of it's both Kelly and Nicky that kind of redemption doesn't particularly work for the character because
no, I've forgiven everybody for everything.
It's been a lot more difficult to forgive these particular two characters just because it feels like the writers are saying, look how tragic their lives have been, please forgive them, and they're just going down a different route with Jacob and letting his personality shine through. But
we also feel sorrier for women than we do for men. There's so much sexism. This is why, and I'm sorry to bring it back again, this is why I don't agree with separating out the sexes for soap awards, because different characters will elicit different responses from people depending on what sex they are, and that's just how humans are, and we can't pretend it's not true. You can say it's rubbish and it's not fair and we should try to stop ourselves from doing it, but pretending it doesn't happen is not the way to do it.
Okay, so let's move on to the Happily Ever After storyline now, I think. Are you struggling with this one?
No. What story?
The Toyah
I don't recall a story. I don't remember them being...
Oh, it was lovely, but it was also really, really difficult.
It's the monkey's paw. This story is the monkey's paw story.
I know, like we said before, it clearly can't work out happily ever after for them, but they're really doing their best to make it look like it is. And I'm kind of watching it halfway, going, "Oh, this is so lovely, and this is all I've wanted for these two." And then, but then the little voice in my head's just saying, "No, it's not going to work. So it's going to stop it from working."
Well, listen, you don't need to have a crystal ball or be looking in soap magazines for spoilers to see that there's something going to happen. By the very fact at the end of the episode, we had a perfect soap magazine clip show still of Abby looking annoyed and perplexed as in the background Imran and Toyah hug like everything is gonna be perfect.
I think we can definitely drop the notion that Toyah is having Imran on and playing the long game here. I told
you guys.
Though. You did. You didn't believe it, did you? I thought it could have happened. She could have been conspiring.
It doesn't make any sense.
To get the baby off of Imran, then run away with it. But
no, it was like the equivalent of going, I'm going to poo in the ice cream and then I'm going to eat it and everyone else is going to not know there's poo in it, but I will. Like, okay, why? You're only hate yourself.
She definitely feels all loved up this week.
Oh, I couldn't believe it when she's going,
Alfie Boo or something.
Alfie like, poo. Just stop it.
I don't.
Just stop it.
Too cute. So we'll chat a bit more about it in a minute. Let's remind it.
This is what happened to me. Right, I have to say that there was a very vivid moment in my life when I realised that the universe would not ever let me be happy, and I've accepted it now. And I can tell you exactly when this was. I was a teenage girl, and I was walking along on the Isle of Wight, which is where my family is from, some of my family, and I was walking along the seafront, and I was absolutely chuffed with myself. And I find, like, you know what it's like to be a teenage girl. You feel really insecure. You're worried all the time about what you look like, or whether the boys are going to like you, and whether you're going to do good in school. And for once in my life, I was actually happy with myself. And I was walking down the road, and in my head, I was singing Bananarama's Venus. She's got it, yeah, baby, the sun was shining, the breeze was blowing, the seagulls were chirping, whatever they do.
Chirping seagulls.
And I was walking along.
Tweeting away.
And it was the middle of summer, and a car drove next to me, and somehow there was a massive puddle, and they drove straight through this puddle, and the water went so high, it went over my head, and then dumped a load of dirty water all over me. And I was about 20 minutes walk home from my uncle's house. So I had to walk home drenched in dirty water with my hair just covered in mud, thinking, well, there you go. That's what happens when you ever think anything nice about yourself. So
I don't know this story about you. I don't think I've heard this one before.
I feel absolutely like Toyah is just tempting the universe to dump a bunch of dirty water on herself.
Aww.
Next week. And I feel totally bad for her because I was that person.
Yeah, but
this is what I've learned.
If you'd have reacted in a different way, you could have turned into, had a Kevin and Sally out of this, because that's how it started with those, wasn't it? Kevin smashing her in his van.
I know,
but he'd gone up to the van and he could have been the man of your drink. It could have been me.
The water literally went all over my head. It was that bad, and it was so cold. It literally, when you get shocked with cold water, I couldn't breathe for a second.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes. This is my life.
So, let's see what's led up to that situation for Toyah this week then. So, Toyah goes into the bistro and says... Wednesday. And says to Leanne, look, it looks like Alfie's going to be discharged next week because he's been in the, the neonatal unit? Is that what it's called? Yeah, with all the drama that he's been going through at such a young age. And they've scheduled a date for the custody hearing, so it's before long. Alfie is going to be ours forever.
Imagine if you're a baby and you were in a psych ward for being mentally ill already. They should just put them in therapy from birth on Coronation Street.
They should. The Weatherfield wing should have that, absolutely.
Definitely.
So Leanne's like, Alfie's going to be yours forever. I'm going to not say anything at the moment, but you just wait, Toyah. So they go off shopping because this wedding just seems to have come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
They're getting married tomorrow.
They were saying today they're getting married tomorrow, so we are to believe then that Monday is going to be Imran and Toyah's wedding. And although that I know that they agreed recently that they were going to get married, but I think I must have just missed the line, if there ever was one. Let's get married really, really quickly. Because I kind of assumed that we were talking like months down the line here. But no, they're off shopping on Wednesday. They come back laden with bags. Toyah's got a wedding dress, which we still haven't seen yet. But Gemma, I expect you're quite looking forward to this, because I know you like a good wedding dress.
I feel like, again.
I know.
No, I don't know. No, do I want to see this? No, I don't know. Do I? Yes. No, I don't know.
So,
what does it look like? What's it going to look like? What do you think?
Oh, because Toyah's never been married before. I think she's one of the few Corrie ladies that hasn't put on a wedding dress before.
I can't believe this.
So they sit down. Leanne
what
says...
What did I do wrong?
Look,
Why do I deserve this?
Leanne says, I just think you may be going a bit too fast here, as
what?
I was saying. She says you got tunnel vision, just like you did with Susie. You're just getting obsessed with something, and it's baby related again. Yeah.
This is like that time with the hamster. Do you remember when you hugged it to death?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and Toyah is not happy with this. She says, look, I have chosen to forgive Imran for what he's done. This is our chance to be a proper family. It is everything
Toyah.
I've always ever wanted.
Yes.
And then Leanne says, look, this baby is not going to save your relationship. He's a bad egg. He went off and had it off with Abby.
The baby's not a bad egg. He's already hatched. He's a fine egg.
Imran went off, had it off with Abby. He will do it again. And Toyah's like, well, if you feel like that, then you're welcome to my wedding then. Yeah.
You're not welcome.
Not welcome to my wedding. I do get a little bit weary of Toyah and Leanne falling out quite so often, but I did enjoy...
That's because you haven't got that relationship with your sister.
I enjoyed their making up today anyway. So
you have
anyway,
to be proper close to someone to keep falling out with them.
It's the hen do on Friday. Leanne's not invited, but they still decide to have it at the bistro anyway, just to rub her nose in
what
it.
a bitchy move! I love it.
So
well, you're not invited, but you can wait on us.
I loved Toyah's outfit this evening.
She looked like a sexy alien.
What?
She was wearing all silver, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was a bit space suit. It was a bit 2001, wasn't it?
It was very, yeah. What was she doing in 2001?
Getting raped by Phil Simmons, maybe.
Oh, okay. What the hell, Michael?
No, I just thought that I just thought she looked awesome, and they made a massive thing about it. It was Austin Powers.
It was Austin Powers meets Lost in Space.
Yes,
Lost in Austin.
She's like saying, "Oh, I need to wear a cardigan." There were a few jokes today about Toyah's wardrobe, weren't there?
Oh yeah, making fun of her sleeves.
But the thing is, when she was younger, she didn't go around with these Victorian lacy dresses on and blouses,
but she had quite modest outfits.
There's a mixture. I just thought it was really, really lovely to see them they allowed Toyah the chance to let her hair down today to show that she's not just kind of some stuffy veggie lasagna eater all her life. I thought it was great. It was really, really lovely.
I did as well.
I was so happy with these scenes.
Why are they doing this?
And then Imran has got his stag do later today. Adam comes round with the costumes, but they put children's size. That was a bit stupid, to be honest. But because I would have quite enjoyed seeing what they would have made Imran dress up as for his costume.
Maybe
but
he was like, "I'm not going to do it."
Didn't get the chance of that. But I tell you what, he was showing a bit of chest today, wasn't he, Imran?
I think
he was dressing down.
The wardrobe department was like, right, take the buttons off. He's not having any buttons. We need to make sure the ladies get their money's worth, and the men.
Yeah, I think you're right. But anyway,
I'm sure there were plenty of people across the country who appreciated.
I think there probably were.
I
think there were. Anyway, so they're all going off to their things today. Toyah can't decide whether to contact Leanne or not, and
contact her.
Yeah, she's got her phone out, and she sees Leanne's.
She's there though, isn't she?
No. This is at the flat still. And she's looking at her phone and sees Leanne and goes, "Oh, shall I ring her?" No, I won't. I'm going to extend the drama for a little bit longer. So Imran tries to go to make peace with Leanne. He tries to say, "Look, just go and make up with your sister. We don't want any drama between you, please." And she's not having any of it. She says, "The only reason you're marrying her is because it's convenient for you. You want to look good in court. You want to be a happy family just so you can bring Alfie home. Not having it. I don't think that you actually should be getting married here." And he says, "Actually, I love Toyah. Please don't throw away your relationship with your sister as well, because I know you love her too."
Leanne just wants to have all the weddings, not let Toyah have one.
I know. So, hen do starts, and we get to see a bit more of the hen do than the stag do, I'm going to say.
Who would you invite if you were... Who's Toyah's best friends?
Well, I was waiting to see...
Would you ever guess it was Sean, Faye and Sarah Louise?
It was a pretty sorry party, to be honest, wasn't it? Like, I mean,
I was free.
It was just a couple of people
I was just watching them.
That she goes to work with. One of her bosses, the bitchy seamstress Sean, and Faye, who does I don't know what.
And I hate to say this, I honestly do think that Toyah's a sort of middle class person who invited Sean because he's gay.
Do you think? You reckon?
She's like, I had a gay man at my hen do.
Like,
right, I'm going to write to the Guardian.
Did they just pick? They could have picked Beth from the factory, but this is the thing that I would have liked to have seen Fizz or Maria turn up, maybe. Because I don't know what their status is at the moment, but they have been actual friends and not colleagues. Because Toyah's only worked at the factory a few years. Are we to believe that, in the other 38 years of her life, she hasn't been able to make any other friends that she would be inviting along to her hen do? It was just a bit sad, really. Felt bad for her. But it doesn't matter, because they were having a lovely old time, and they even convinced her to take her cardigan off.
And she's like, "Oh, my sequins have fallen off and my dress is going to be bald."
So funny. And throughout all of this, Leanne is glaring on from behind the bar at the bistro.
Jealous. She wants to join in.
She does. So she kind of comes over and apologises to Toyah, and she accepts, and then she says, "Look, Leanne tells her that Imran came round and tried to apologise and say he changed earlier, and says, look, he's absolutely
He's changed.
He's
He's
lovely
got a
now, he'd
different
never
top
do
on.
it again. And Leanne agrees to come to the wedding,
Aww.
but she says, if Imran mucks you about again, I'm going to swing for him. And Toya's like, yeah, me too. I thought that was
I love
fantastic.
that. That was
nice,
proper cute.
Nice bit of Battersby spunk
And
there.
Oh, okay. And I have to
was.
say, Toyah looked really beautiful today.
She look. Wow,
She's
you
so
wait.
cute.
You wait until Monday. You wait.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well,
Do
I
you
mean, I said
Oh,
she's got the wedding, hasn't she?
She's going to be so beautiful as a bride.
The hen do was just the hors d'oeuvre. You got the main course coming up next week. So we then get to see a little bit of the stag do scenes. They're in speed dial, aren't they? And so that's Imran, Adam, and Craig for some reason.
But it does make a tiny bit of sense because Imran supposedly used to go jogging with Craig.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
So
and Craig lived with them for a bit, didn't he?
Jogging friend. Yeah, that's right. It is room.
But so did Ryan. Where was Ryan at your head as stag do? It's just so sad that neither of these characters had even 5 people on their
doesn't
party.
believe in the institution of marriage.
Maybe you're right. Sorry,
Maybe he's
Alia.
taking a stand. Maybe he's super religious and he's like, if you're not getting married in the church, which I assume they're not, I'm not coming.
I did enjoy the little bit today when the little exchange between Zidane and Imran about going to morning prayers or something, and Imran's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't." But I thought
like,
that was a nice
yes,
nod
morning
to the fact
prayers.
that he's Muslim.
I know. I think we'd all forgotten that he used to take his faith a bit more seriously.
Yeah, because we had that scene after Rana died, and
Yeah.
they went to the mosque, and he was there, and all his outfit, wasn't he? His regalia. Anyway, Abby kind of shows up. How coincidentally, because she's ordered a takeaway, and then she also gets a phone call from Elliot to say that the money's dried up, and this is what you were talking about recently, isn't it? Because Imran had been bankrolling her defence for all this time, and now obviously they are not on the same side anymore.
To slap me.
So yeah, Elliot phones up and says, "Sorry, I can't help you anymore." And then just to make things worse, she overhears Adam and Imran and Craig toasting baby Alfie, and Imran saying, "Oh, he's going to come home with us." He's just totally rubbing it in her face without realising.
He didn't know she was there, but it really was on the nose. He was like, he
really
was. The only way it could have been worse is if he had said, "And screw that old bag Abby, what a stupid runt she is."
He might as well have been saying, nothing could possibly go wrong. This is going to be the best wedding ever.
Everybody
best
toast
child for
to
fostering.
no more secrets.
Yeah, basically.
Although I don't think they do.
Abby strides over to him and says, "I can't believe how smug you're being. Alfie is just as much mine as he is yours,
You really
actually."
can't believe that, because I can.
What?
How smug he's being. I can totally believe it.
Yeah. So basically, it's on. So I can't wait to see how that's going to look next week.
But this bit was sweet, Michael. What happens now?
Well, Imran gets a text from Toyah.
Why are they so cute?
I thought that he was going off to do something sneaky, to be honest, because he says, "Oh, I'm just got to go and have a word with the missus or whatever." And I thought he was actually
Michael the missus.
I thought it was Ben maybe that had found finally some evidence against
Are they
Abby, or
married?
I planted something, but no, it actually was Toyah who's swinging off the Red Bank steps out, isn't she?
She's a bit sozzled,
little bit tipsy. And she tells Imran to do a little dance to make her happy, and he does do a little dance. And they have a snog, and Abby's glaring on, but it was absolutely adorable and lovely and wonderful and cute.
Married?
And I enjoyed that scene an awful
Do you think they really will get married? Because again, like with pregnancy on Coronation Street, just because you plan a wedding doesn't mean...
No, it doesn't mean.
And
it's
even if
always
you
going
go to
happen.
the wedding, fully intending to get married, still doesn't mean that you're actually going to get married.
I honestly have no idea.
I think...
If
But the thing is, if something happens, right, they both want to get married. I don't think that either of them are going to chicken out. I just can't see it. Because Leanne's on board now. If Leanne had changed her mind and said, "Toyah, I'm not going to support you," then it would be different. But they both want to get married. I just can't see how they would change their mind. So it means something else.
Does Imran have any more secrets from Toyah anymore? Is there anything that can be revealed to her that would make her say, calling the wedding off?
No, I don't think so. The only thing I think is maybe Abby will go in and try and stop the ceremony or something.
Yeah, could she do something that would mean that Imran would have to rush off?
Or maybe she's so, or maybe something happens to Alfie.
Maybe what? Maybe
Like
Abby
he's
makes
got an
something happen.
emergency. Oh no, she wouldn't do that, would she? She is evil.
Just inject a bit of air into his veins or something. Or I don't know.
Or just say he's sick.
Maybe.
Or just unhook something so it makes a noise.
But I don't know whether that would work, because wouldn't Imran and Toyah just go running off to him and then say, no, it's fine, let's get married later?
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I was trying to get to. Like, even if they didn't get married on Monday, I don't think there's much to stop them from getting married. So I'm going to say, yes, they're going to get married. I'm going to say...
A year ago, I'd be so happy, but I just got so mixed feelings with this, just because it feels like it's going to be a moment of happiness and then something's got to go wrong, because just the way that this is looking, it can't work. It's so horrible.
This is their
lovely
Venus on a mountaintop moment.
What's that?
Where you get covered in dirty water from a car.
Oh, yeah.
You think you're on top of the world. You're not.
That scene at the end was so lovely, and I'm really, really looking forward to whatever form this wedding takes.
They were the cutest. That was I know I'm biased, and we're both biased, and I really cannot see this objectively.
It's difficult.
But that was one of the cutest couple moments, surely.
Yeah, they came across as being
properly
happy,
besotted
with each other.
Bloody
they
hell.
both played it really, really well.
Hate it.
Oh,
it's torture. It's torture.
Very torturous.
It's like somebody's getting me a pet dog and then they shoot it in front of my head.
And I still love Abby as well. And I don't like seeing her, having this rubbed in her face.
She's got this could be the balance though, because we've been saying, it's kind of getting a bit obnoxious, the fact that Toyah and Imran are being stitched up a little bit here to become proper villainous, and Abby's that's
true.
So if she does something to screw this wedding up or tries to ruin it, that's the balance then of us going, actually everybody's awful in this storyline and I don't know who is worse, which is how I kind of want it to be.
There wasn't anything this week that made us scream, Imran and Toyah were the baddies this week, were there? Whereas last week Imran was getting Ben to go and do his sniffing around finding evidence, and it's like, that feels a little bit underhand. And this week it was just, aren't Imran and Toyah cute together? Although Leanne absolutely had a point when she was telling Toyah,
and
what
Imran,
the hell are you doing? You've only been engaged 5 minutes. Why are you getting married so quickly? Well, wasn't saying why. It's like, I know why you're doing it. You're not doing it for love. You're doing it for this baby that you're obsessed with. She's absolutely right. But even though she is right, should she have said that, or should she have just stuck with her sister and said, "Look, I don't want us to fall out." I don't know. Do you think she should have kept quiet about it?
Okay, well,
she's just going to say, "I told you so" now, isn't she?
I've been in a situation like this, as you know, with a friend, very, very close friend of mine, who got married to somebody for a reason that I thought was a bad reason, and they did not know each other for very long. And I said to all my friends, you're not going to stop her from marrying this person, and don't there was a massive argument in my friend group because somebody said to her, "You're an idiot, I don't know why you're doing this," and they all fell out, and then I kind of got everybody to be friends again and support her, and we all went to the wedding and stuff, but everybody knew apart from her, and I think he knew too, that it was a bad idea. And 15 years and 5 kids later, and that she finally got it, but there's no way that you would have stopped her from doing what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
You went, and this is the same thing with abusive relationships. When Yasmin was with Jeff, you really cannot get involved. You can say your piece, and then draw a line under it, and then then you have to decide: am I going to be a friend here and support them?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that Leanne did decide to be the bigger person here and say, look, can we make up? It was nice. It's going to be hopefully lovely to see, because she said she was going to be a bridesmaid, didn't she? It's going to be Toyah going up the aisle. Tell you what, if they have Blue Merrick doing it, it's just going to be perfection, isn't it?
Corrie royalty. It's the royal wedding. It's it's Will and Kate's 11th wedding anniversary. 2-day.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Happy
why don't you know that?
Sorry.
So, what better time to get married? What an auspicious time of year.
Anyway, I think we've stand enough about this.
Are they getting married?
Isn't it, everybody?
Is it the 1st of May on Monday? Is it? Or is it?
I don't know.
It's a May wedding. Is that a good thing?
It's a bank holiday wedding, so everybody's allowed to come. So I hope that wherever they're getting married, it's just packed.
Oh, Michael.
What?
They have their wedding on a bank holiday, just like Will and Kate's. They had a bank holiday to celebrate their wedding too.
Corrie royalty, you're right. Right, Gemma. George Snorwell.
Well, I hope it doesn't go as well as Charles and Diana's wedding.
Well, tell us about George and Eileen.
Monday, George is looking for cinema listings. Because they're being old-fashioned.
Oh, yeah, they were, weren't they?
And she's trying to work out more about this house. She's suspicious. He's given her all this stuff about why they can't be in the same house, in the same room together while he's asleep. And she's trying to figure it out because she doesn't quite believe all of the stuff that he's told her. And she's trying to work out why Todd doesn't remember his cat. And George says, oh, I put him in the cattery because I need a break from her sometime.
Clearly lying. Yeah, because Todd went to stay with him for a little bit, like last year, was it? So
again, the story is falling down a little bit there because, as we later discover what the problem with George is, Todd would definitely have known.
I just thought that... I thought they made it a bit too heavy-handed and obvious that he was lying. Like the odd slip up here and there was fine, but
it's
they really laid.
Funny.
I know it was. I think they laid it on a little bit too thick. That he was like, she. Oh, no, I mean he. Or then she would ask him a question and he'd be there with his wide-eyed stare again. But
get over it.
I'm fine. I have because I enjoyed the story in the end.
Eileen says that when she was with Jessie, she was second to a parrot, and she's not coming second to a cat.
Jessie Chadwick.
And we all remember that. Reference. Higher, lower.
Yeah.
So wasn't she more annoyed about her sister being his score than anything else?
Yeah.
So Eileen and Sean go, and I'm only saying that because that was the act of people. So it's not me, it was them. Eileen and Sean go to investigate at his house, and he's got quite a nice house.
I know, it's quite fancy, isn't it? All that Undertaker money. Just considering that he's not a cutthroat Undertaker. You don't
go around killing people just to do their funerals. No, it was very glaringly obvious.
Going under Shuttleworth not long ago. I don't know. I'm not surprised the mortgage on that place.
How can you go under as a funeral director during a pandemic? Anyway, he probably inherited it from his dad.
Yes,
but it was glaringly obvious that this was filmed in.
A couple of months ago.
Because it's spring now and his garden was absolutely pants. George, get your pot sorted out. They go investigating with Eileen and Sean. They go over the fence. Sean goes over the fence, lets her in, and they start to look about. But as they are, they hear George walking down the street and singing, which is how I always announce myself as I'm coming home. If they were hiding in the garden from us, they would know we were coming because we'd stop at the doorstep and start fiddling around with Pikmin Bloom and saying you had to go and get a mushroom.
I don't know why they didn't just have George just like driving up to it rather than have him singing. That didn't necessarily
He's walking along with his umbrella, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like singing in the rain.
They hide. Have to hide from him.
They hide in the shed, I think.
Well, Sean's in the shed because there was a bit of action cam, wasn't it? A bit of a sneaky cam because we see George going, hang on a minute, what's my gate's open, he finds, doesn't he? So he does a little bit of investigating. And wasn't there maybe some first-person camera? And then he opens up the shed door and Sean's there going, ah! And then he turns around and Eileen's behind him. It was kind of funny, but not so funny for Sue Cleaver because apparently Tony Maudsley gave her COVID during those scenes she put on Twitter this week. Yes. So that kind of sucked.
Oh dear. She wants to know where his cat is, and then she calls him a jellyfish, just like every other man she's ever had. She drops off home and tells him never to come. He tells her don't come back because he's a bit annoyed that she was in his garden. I would have just said I'm helping you with your bulbs. But she does. I don't think she's a very keen gardener.
Well, she hasn't got a garden herself, actually. You wouldn't know one end of the plant from another.
No, that's true. Eileen tells Todd about it back home, and he says that they're going to get back together. She's not interested. She's given up on him. And Todd says, "Well, are you not still curious about the secret? Because I am." He finds George moping around in the pub, and George says it's over. Another casualty of my condition, he says, and we find out the secret.
He's a massive snorer.
Todd thinks it's funny.
Was that your reaction to it? Was it a bit of a... Because
I heard... What?
I was... the way this story was clearly being written as a bit of a comedy. So if it was going to take a massively dark and serious
it would have
twist,
been a bit
it
weird.
wouldn't have really fit. But I don't know, snoring is just is a little bit of a letdown, but it led to some funny scenes later in the week, so I'm going to give it a pass.
I don't know how issuesy what they want to get with it, but actually this can be a very, very debilitating condition.
Is this an issues base? So do we get to go onto Corrie's website and find out if we are also massive snorers? Where do we go? What do we do?
I saw quite a lot of people suggesting that he had a CPAP machine, and he said he didn't want one of those. But I think that might end up being the solution.
It seems a bit easy and obvious. I mean, they mentioned on Wednesdays... Now, he said he'd been doing breathing exercises, but he had just been not sleeping. But if at the end of this storyline it's just, and he's got a special machine and he's fine, it'll be like, oh, okay, that was easy. Why didn't you do this many years ago?
See, when I went skiing with all my friends, I had to share a room with the only other singleton there, who was a man called Mike. And he snored very, very loudly, and I could not sleep, so I had to sleep during the day, and I didn't get to go skiing because I was crap at skiing anyway, so I didn't really care. But there's no way that anybody, people gave me earplugs and stuff so that I could cope with the sound of his snoring, but it was so loud. And we also have friends who are a couple who, when they stay over our house, they can't sleep in the same room.
Oh yeah, they can't.
So it's not really fun. And it's not necessarily to do with your weight, is it? Because the person who snores that we know is very svelte.
Very trim, yeah.
So, but if a CPAP machine can help you, and the other trouble is, unfortunately, that if you are overweight and you're snoring like that, and it can be a symptom of problems, and you actually sometimes stop breathing altogether, and it can be very, very dangerous. You do need to get yourself checked out.
I don't like the idea of having a mask over my face when I go to bed.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he hasn't said anything about this is affecting his own sleep. But some people who have this problem, because they're not actually breathing properly, they never really rest. And so when they get the CPAP machine, even if they don't really want to have it, they find that it improves their life so much that they'll put up with it. Yeah. Because it forces your airways open, doesn't it? It just kind of forces air into you.
But that would make sense.
Well, she's like, I don't care about snoring. I've been married to a serial killer.
That was funny. He wasn't serial killing in the night.
That's exactly what I was going to say. To be fair, Eileen, he wasn't doing it in a room where you're trying to sleep, was he?
He wasn't shooting people or blowing out their car or stabbing them in the guts while you were just having a snooze.
Yeah, so Eileen finds this out, and he's saying, look, I've had so many girlfriends. You're girlfriend number 8. Every single one's given up on me before you. They can't cope with it. She's like, I don't care. I think it's kind of funny. I'll help you find a cure. So she goes off to bed later.
These other girls must have been bitches. Did none of them want to help him try? Did they not really love him? Did they just want to go out with him for that sweet funeral director cash?
I mean, once you get your discount funerals sorted out, you don't need another one.
Yeah, he probably gave everybody a coffin for Christmas, and as soon as they got that, they think, "Thank you very much."
Thanks,
now you
bye,
don't.
Sucker. She goes off to bed later and tells George to join her when he's ready, and he says, "No, I don't really know."
This is when he mentions the mask. I don't want to wear. She's trying to.
She's like, let's just try it out, see what happens. So on Wednesday, they wake up and they're both delighted. It's been a great night. They're rubbing George's nose in it. He's grossed out. They're making weird jokes.
There's a few scenes this week, wasn't there, where they're talking a little bit too graphically, funny. Or more graphically than Todd would have liked about their.
Which is not at all.
Activities,
nocturnal activities. George says, I've been doing breathing exercises and it seems to have worked. And then later on we see him driving his hearse and he's looking really, really sleepy. He pulls up outside the Undertaker's and he tries to have a snooze at the wheel, but he headbutts the steering wheel and honks the horn and everybody's looking at him. So he crawls into the back and goes to sleep. And they could have had lots of other jokes here. This
was a bit of a missed opportunity. Yeah.
But I think
when he looked into the back, I was this is going to be great.
Yeah, I was really...
I just saw that the whole of the rest of the episode could be taken up by him putting himself in a coffin, the coffin being driven to somewhere, it gets opened up and he's there inside. People would have said that's insensitive, and people have already said that about this story, but I kind of had plotted the rest of the episode out already in my head. That I think that would have, for me, been absolutely hilarious. And it felt like it was over before it began, unfortunately.
It was over before it began. My idea was that he would go into the back and like fall asleep where the coffin would lay. Like, and it would have been really, really stupid with him like folding his arms, and then people would have been walking past going, "Is there a dead body just outside, just laid out?" That's gross.
They really, really, really could have got a lot more mileage out of that.
Instead, what happened was Todd got in the car and he starts to like get ready to drive, and then he gets the fright of his life because George wakes up and he thinks
it was funny.
It was really funny.
It just could have gone on longer.
Yeah. He's like, "What the hell is going on? Why are you?" And he had a pillow with him. The George had a pillow, and the only reason that pillow would have been there surely is for a corpse's head. So, is this a used corpse pillow?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Don't want to know. Actually, I do want to know. So they go to the cafe so that he can explain himself, and George says he stayed awake all night, didn't dare fall asleep because he didn't want to snore. And Todd says this is ridiculous, you cannot carry on doing this. But he's kind of got this idea that he's going to stay over a certain number of days a week and never sleep for those days. And Todd's like, that's stupid. You can't. Eileen comes home and...
Get some of Summer's energy drinks, he'll be fine.
Yeah, well, he does that later.
Oh, yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Eileen comes home to find that George is asleep on the sofa. She sits down next to him and they have a chat about how they really kind of like love each other up, don't they? They're like, really I tolerate nice, you. It was end. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I more than tolerate you or something. It was really cute. Go, oh, listen to me. I'm so soppy. And
it was in character because Eileen is usually very matter of fact, and she's not lovey-dovey and romantic.
That makes it all the more sweet.
Sue played it very, very well.
She's perfect. Later on, she kind of invites George to stay over consecutive nights. Indeed. And he gets the energy drinks out and he's trying to drink as much as possible so he can stay up again so he doesn't snore.
But what happened? We don't know. Is this story going to come back this week?
I guess he just died.
I was really, really enjoying this and a little bit disappointed we didn't get any more of it on Friday. I like this. I don't know what it is about it. It just seems kind of like fairly simple. And
can I just say one thing about? Yeah, it is simple. It's a very you don't need complicated. He said, she said. What happened now? Who knows what? It's literally just he snores.
Yeah, I like the little mystery of having a sneak round his house. I like the fact that they had some location filming, so we got to see his house.
Yeah, that's nice.
Todd being the third person in the mix was great. Just being the kind of the sarcastic. You know, when they admit to Eileen, when he admits George that it's a snorer, he's a massive snorer. I can't keep saying that phrase. And he's all ashamed of himself, and Todd's just there finding it hilarious. I love that. I love the sleepy stuff on Wednesday. I love the soppiness. It was just there was an awful lot for me to enjoy this story.
One thing I want to say about Eileen that I don't think anyone really gives her credit for is that she works really well with most of the male characters that they've put her with for relationships, and I think that's quite often overlooked. But whenever Eileen is with a bloke, you're like, please let her find happiness. This could be the one.
Yeah, there's been quite a good few, hasn't there? With Dennis and Pat.
There's always one fatal flaw, isn't there?
Yeah, with all these even that relationship that she had with Paul Kershaw, although he wasn't the most interesting of characters, they seem to gel.
She quite often gets a pretty steady, nice, docile looking guy.
Well, this is why she keeps finding so many guys, because she thinks about all the good times and then forgets how it always ends in a horrible sticky mess.
Yeah, with murder or death.
Yeah, or dirty cheese on toast.
Exactly, death. That's it then.
That is it. I mean, I just did you enjoy it as much as me?
Yeah, I thought it was fine and simple and light-hearted, and it was very sweet. There were so many sweet couples that are doomed.
Yeah, lovely sweet stuff. Are George and Eileen doomed? Is it inevitable that they are, or could he be the one?
I don't know. It's really quite promising. It really is quite promising.
And he got to do a little bit more serious stuff this week as well. I think still my favourite George scene that I can remember that wasn't too silly was when he got his telescope with Sam last year. Do you remember? They were looking at the stars together. That was really, really nice. And we got to see just a little bit more that he's not just a bumbly buffoon this week.
It's a shame he's a massive snorer.
It is a massive snorer. It's a shame. Right. Speaking of, no, this wasn't. This is a comedy storyline. It kind of was. I don't know, the Timperton story. It was, the raciness was toned down in this week, wasn't it, with Tim and Sally? Because it's getting all a bit serious and issuesy. Tim gets up early on Monday morning to go for a walk, and Sally says, "Look, what do you get out of bed early for? I wasn't going to try and jump your bones or anything like that." He didn't want to talk about it though. He's just like completely blocks off any chance to discuss his little problem. And he wants to kind of make out that it doesn't exist because he's massively ashamed that he's not able to perform for Sally in the boudoir. So he says, "Look, why don't you just go and find another bloke on the street if you're that desperate for a shag?" So this is when Sally goes to Victoria Gardens, and she has that great gossip session with Aggie. Although she starts to talk. It's a bit rude, really, but she starts to talk to Aggie about Tim's lack of sex drive, just a bit private. But then it just turns into a funny bitching session about Gail. I can't remember how it was. Was it just probably about the number of husbands that she's had? That's a fairly low.
Yeah, how could you steer the conversation? Like, Tim can't get it up, but I guess if you were married to Gail, I could understand it.
I don't know what it was, but it was funny. Like I said earlier on in the episode, there was just a quite nice amount of nasty gossiping on Monday, or just fun gossiping that Corrie maybe needs to lean into a little bit more. Anyway, Aggie recommends that Tim make an appointment with his GP.
Oh, she would say that.
Yeah,
she would say that.
It's a racket.
That NHS scab.
Yeah. What happened to the alternative therapies, Aggie? Why don't you tell them to go down the Chinese medicine shop or something, eh?
Why don't you tell him to just grin and bear it like all the rest of the men?
Yeah. So later on, Sally's got the laptop out in the kitchen. She's voggling male impotence, but then when Tim comes in, she kind of slams it shut. He doesn't particularly pick up on this. He's got flowers for her to make up, and they just also have a quite nice soppy. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting to mute this. They have quite a nice little soppy scene there, and they agree. Well, let's go to the bistro and have a lovely chat there. This is when they have a little They have another gossip session then about Nicky, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, the funny bit here was they're talking about Nicky being a sex worker, and Sally says something like, "We better not speak too loudly, otherwise Leanne will think that we're talking about her."
Yeah.
That was so funny.
And then she says there's a willy that's been drawn on the ladies' mirrors.
Oh yeah, there has. That was the other story, wasn't it? Somebody in the Rovers has drawn a willy in the mirror in the ladies. I think it was Sean, because he said he was going to bring a 10-foot inflatable willy to Toyah's hen do or something. I think he's obsessed. Anyway, and then the scene ends with her just saying, "Oh, let's choose what we're going to eat. I think I'll have the sausage." And the look that Joe Dutting gives there was just
it made
priceless.
us laugh, even though it's silly.
It really, really did.
There
was just a lot in this week that made us laugh, and it wasn't just like. It's nice, yeah.
I know, but I'm
Corrie
sure
trying to be funny there.
Just as many people thought that was juvenile ridiculous.
I'm sure they did, but it was a lot of it was right up our alley. This
an intellectual.
Anyway, they get back later. Tim doesn't really want to go to bed. He's a bit scared and embarrassed about what's going to happen.
All these men scared to go to bed with their women.
Go there and sleep. It's fine.
I tell you what, Tim. You think you got problems, but George would love to just be able to go to sleep with his bird.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you guys swap bits?
Over? Exactly.
If only that was possible. I mean, Max tried.
Anyway,
chop his bits.
He says, "Look, I don't want to go to a doctor. I'm a bit embarrassed about it." And Sally says, "Look, you know what? Me and Kevin, we stopped bonking once, and the next thing I know, he's jogging off with Molly Dobbs." Another classic callback. "Can you at least come and have a cuddle in bed, though?" she says at the end. Wednesday's episode, straight back into her strongly encouraging Tim to go and see the doctor.
Well, it sounds like she wanted more than a cuddle when she didn't get it.
Sounds like it, doesn't it? She says, "Look, this problem's affecting me as well, you know." And he says, "No, you're just overreacting. It's fine. Don't need to worry about it." So he goes off to prove his manliness by going off and buying a big power drill from the DIY shop. And
well, he can come and put some shelves up.
I know, we have still got some shelves.
I'll praise his manhood. He wants me to. That's what it takes to get the shelves up.
Yeah, because it's not happening. I'm not doing it. I've already tried. I've ruined that bit of wall. Sally says, look, I'm fed up of you ignoring the issue here. Get yourself to the GP. And he says, I can't talk about it. It is totally freaking me out. But then after one more moan from Sally, he agrees to book to go and see Dr. Gaddis. Then we get a funny scene where he goes, this was like really unnecessary scene, but brilliant all the same. He goes to the corner shop, doesn't he? And Dev's there swiping away on Tinder. He's like deving it up to the max yet again. Just go, swipe it, just go on there, swipe him a swipe face or something like that. And that was like fairly unoriginal bit of scripting, but Jimmy Harkishin just made it come alive there. He was so good. And then he just kind of goes on about how he's God's gift. He's like, hey man, I've had 3 dates this week. Imagine the shame if I couldn't get it up in the bedroom. I can't remember what he says. And Tim's there just like going, I wish I were as virile as you, Dev. And he kind of scurries out, and the scene ends again completely unnecessarily but brilliantly with Dev pelting for a selfie, isn't he?
I know. I loved it.
So funny. I just
loved
Dev. That. Yeah, he was really good. Need more Dev. Anyway, the episode, that story ends with him cancelling his appointment. So he's not going to be dropping his drawers for Dr. Gaddis anytime soon. He should have got her to check it out when he did it earlier in the year, didn't he? Shouldn't he?
Do you need to show it? I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, surely if
I'm
there's
all
something...
man, Gemma. I've never had to go to the doctor about that issue.
Surely she's like, yeah, Viagra, next.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's obvious, isn't it?
Do you need it prescribed?
But actually, maybe he can't take that because of his heart.
Oh, yeah.
What's Viagra for originally? It was for a heart thing, wasn't it? And then everyone, all the patients were like,
Something going on downstairs.
I had a raging boner for a week, is that right?
I think probably the issue is going to be, I imagine that he's going to eventually see the doctor and she'll say, well, this is a side effect of what's been going on with your heart, or you can't have this particular treatment because of your heart, and maybe him and Sally will just have to connect intellectually.
Maybe they'll have to just do a jigsaw or something.
Yeah, Peter's got a load spare that you can lend them.
Maybe she'll have to take a lover.
Yeah. So this story was a lot more palatable for me this week.
I have to say, I don't care whether they have sex with each other.
I don't particularly, but
I'd rather they didn't, and I don't want to hear about it ever again. But why am I involved?
It wasn't quite so in your face, was it? It didn't have him talking to his willy, for one thing.
I think the thing,
so that's an upgrade.
My problem with this story is that it feels like a repeat of the heart problem story, where it's like, more men don't go to the doctors for problems.
Yeah, maybe it's all leading to he didn't want to go to the doctors for a problem, and third time's a charm, and he's going to drop dead. Maybe
his willy will explode.
Maybe.
That'd
be quite good, wouldn't it? Yeah, maybe.
I'm not a doctor.
No.
I don't know if that happens.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this a lot more. It's not, the best story ever, but, it was fine.
It's fine. Whatever.
Aggie gets the story, Gemma.
Aggie gets a story where she's going to nurse in a new area of the hospital.
Yes, the bum tube department. Is that what Michael called it? Something like that?
Yeah, very juvenile.
It's the gastroenterology department.
She's already done paediatrics, oncology, cardiology, and now they're like, look, I reckon she just, everyone just hates her. Or maybe she, the first day she comes, she, makes a disgusting cake.
Yeah, they're just trying. That's it. I think you've uncovered it.
My Marmite and courgette cake with chocolate frosting.
So then they all just try and encourage her to move to a different department.
Everybody goes, wow, Aggie, this is lovely. Thank you so much for making this cake. And then she doesn't. She brings one every week, and then they're like, oh, good God, we shouldn't have said anything. How do we get out of this?
Time for some career progression.
Should we tell her, or should we just shift her to another part of the hospital? And Aggie's like, this is great. Everyone loves me. They just can't. Everyone just keeps passing me around because I'm so fantastic that my talents can't be contained to one
department,
one part of the hospital.
Yeah,
so anyway, she's going to the gastroenterology department, and she's not happy about it. She doesn't get a choice. And Ed says it's temporary, and she gives him a look, and I don't know what that's about. And then she gets ready for work later. She's miserable because she's worried her new boss, Mr. Thorne, he's got a reputation.
Yeah, she's not heard good things about him.
No. So she, actually, when she turns up, he's like, "Hi, I'm Mr. Thorne. I'm retiring soon. I'm just a really all-round good chap. Have you tried the coffee machine? It's fantastic. Anyway, hope you enjoy working with me. I can't wait to look in some bums with you." So she gets back home later, and she says, "Oh, he was my husband Ed. He was really nice. This Mr. Thorne. He's a bit of a charmer." And Ed
no
says,
storyline there, then, Aggie.
Ed says, "Oh, maybe I should worry that he might woo you."
Is that where it's going? Is Mr. Thorne going to be wooing Aggie?
I
Not going
don't.
to be a thorn in her side, but a thorn up her woo-woo.
He doesn't do woo woos.
No, but he might make an exception for her.
I don't want to talk about. I think we're getting too disgusting.
I don't want Aggie and Ed to split up over this. They're like the
Michael,
one solid couple.
I just
married
don't know
couple.
where is this going, because why has Mr. Thorne got this reputation for being an asshole?
Well, is he a bit gropey?
Yeah, but he wouldn't have a reputation for being an irritable bowel syndrome.
No,
guy.
I missed what exactly it was that he's supposed to...
They were just saying he was really, like, crotchety and demanding.
Yeah.
And then he's, like, not that at all. And
it was a bit odd, wasn't it?
you leapt to the idea that they're going to have an
only
affair.
because Ed was joking about it at the end, and it's like...
Well, they always joke about whatever's going to happen next.
Pathetic fallacy kind of thing. Is that the right thing? Maybe not. No,
I think it was pathetic fallacy.
Oh, yeah, I am, but it's not that either, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, well. No, I just think maybe that's obvious, but I don't care. I kind of like some of the babies.
Well, I can't see where this is going. It's like, does he not... Is he horrible to everyone in the world apart from Aggie? What does that mean? Or do people just say horrible things about him? Like, is he a molester?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, guess we'll find out next week. And finally, we also had originally I didn't even like whenever these scenes with Zidane and Yasmin and Alia came on. I thought, do I need to write anything here? Are they saying anything important or interesting? And the answer was kind of no. But basically, because it is Ramadan at the moment and we've got Eid coming up, Stu decides to remind Alia and Yasmin, oh, this is a time for families and reconciliation and being friends again. And after you fell out about, what did they fall out about again? Was it Hashim and the money and everything?
Fact that they did something.
They let Hashim die in front of them or something. I don't know. Maybe you should make up. They've not been in it for so long. I've forgotten what they've fallen out about. But anyway, they end up having a bit of a reconciliation session, do Yasmin and Alia, partway through the episode, and then they decide they're going to put on a little fair in Victoria Street for Eid coming up. Zidane finds about it and his nose is put a little bit out of joint when he realises that he's not been invited to it, but Stu says, don't you worry, my son, I'll get you in there and you'll be friends with your nan again. And it was as interesting as that. So we've all got some lovely Nazir action to look forward to next week. And it's a shame that I'm kind of thinking this way about it, because I have in the past really enjoyed the Nazir families, and even Yasmin. I mean, she was number one lady on the show for a good long while a few years ago, but it's not working so well for her, what they've left her with now, is it?
No, she's gone off the boil.
Really, really massively gone off the boil. And even Stu, like, I think that there is a bit of potential with Yasmin and Stu together, but it doesn't seem like they want to give airtime for that. And if they did, maybe it wouldn't be that exciting anyway. It's a shame. It's just there's something that's not quite working here.
What did you think about Eid?
I really like how they mentioned it. I mean, they've had Ramadan a few times on Coronation Street before, haven't they?
Yeah.
And the Nazirs have mentioned it, so that was cool that it was brought in. And like I said earlier, the fact the conversation that Imran had with Zidane about it was totally Zidane was not at all necessary, but it was nice that they gave it a little bit of time.
I liked it, yeah. I liked it. It reminds you, you know.
Yeah, we live in a multicultural society.
And I don't know much about it. And I've never been able to have any kind of celebration with anybody who's celebrates something different to me. So
it was
it'd be quite
interesting
fun
how
to
they
be invited along to do or to help. If I was Stu, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that Ramadan's been going on for like a month now.
Yes, it's coming to the end, and they just like, oh, it is Ramadan, you know. And Stu's been working with these people for a month and not noticed.
Yeah, he was keeping on forgetting.
Like, why don't you have some food?
Oh,
yes,
I forgot. Yeah, I know, but never mind. Right, Gemma, I am going to let you score and give your character of the week this week first. I want to know what you say, because sometimes I think that I give a score and you end up giving half a point more, and it's become a bit of a pattern.
How have you noticed? How did you notice this?
Yeah. So
what are you going to give it?
No. You give your score first for this week.
I'm going to give it half a mark more than you.
Which is?
You're going to give it, I reckon you're going to give it 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it 3.5.
You're giving it 3.5 this week, eh?
I'm going to give it 3.5 custard cream trees because I've been trying to grow one in my garden.
Well, if you could have any biscuit tree in your garden, what would it be?
What would it be if I could have any? But because I'm not a big fan.
Custard creams are very nice biscuits, but if I had one and I thought, I could have had, there's so many other biscuits out there, and I just went for the first one that came to my head, I might be a bit disappointed.
See, I'm not a big sweet snack person.
No.
So if I could get a pork scratching tree, I'd sign up for that. But
no,
it's a bit sinister, isn't it? Because it's like, where is it growing this dead flesh from? How is it formulating this dead strips of dead pig skin?
I quite like a nice hobnob myself, chocolate hobnob.
Well, you know me, Michael.
Yeah.
I am a bit posh sometimes. So mine would have to be a Florentine tree.
Florentine?
You know I love
biscuit.
It is chocolate covered Florentines.
Right, if you're having that, then I'm going to have a penguin tree.
Yeah, have a penguin tree.
But don't get us started on whether we could have a Jaffa Cake tree in this particular situation.
I was going to say Jaffa Cakes. Just because then I'd get to argue with people about whether it's a cake or a biscuit.
I very much enjoyed this week. I thought that there were lots of individual scenes that made me go, that was a really well done scene, rather than just, okay, that scene's over, on to the next one. So you had like Amy in the cafe with Max, kind of talking a bit about, what she's been going through since the spiking. I enjoyed the chucking the drink over Max. I agree with you.
I think that it really felt like a bit of a return to more diversity of cast and people talking, and
the stuff with Max getting his groin cut was
brilliant.
Was really, really well done.
More
and it made me kind of I thought there was a lot of George stuff that was funny. The garden scene I enjoyed. The scene in the hearse was fun. Everything that Jacob did this week was wonderful, but I have to give him props. I mean, if you're going to try and redeem a character, then having him make fun of Simon, that's a brilliant way to do it.
That's what they should have got Kelly to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like put Simon in the bin.
You had the hen do and the stag do scenes. You had that last scene with Toyah and Imran. There was an awful lot to like this week, which is why I am going to be giving this week's Coronation Street 4.
I'm going to give it 4.5.
No, too late. You're giving it 3.5. You're giving it, no. I'm giving it 4 bum pipes out of 5.
No, it's not funny. It's juvenile. And I would not expect a gastroenterologist nurse to make jokes.
She didn't make that joke. That was Michael, wasn't it?
To make jokes.
Who's your character of the week?
The bomb pipe doctor.
Stop it. You cannot have Dr. Thorne. I wouldn't. If I had somebody called Dr. Thorne, I'd be like, oh, don't. Sounds a bit painful, doesn't it?
You don't want that.
No, I don't know. Well, I don't know what I'd want really, but
I want Dr. Happy Times.
Who's your character of the week?
Dr. No One Dies. Who's my character of the week?
Yeah.
It's not Nicky, Daisy, Max, Daniel.
Okay. Nobody in that story. I think I'm going to go right in there and say Jacob for my character of the week this week.
You do really love Jacob, don't you? Why don't you marry him?
I just think he's a really decent guy, and he has
such
seen
a
the
decent guy.
error of his ways.
Michael,
I
he was
know
selling
that
alco pops. He was selling illegal alcohol.
I know.
In a park, and he had to run away from the police.
But he's just so darn charming. I really, really think he's a brilliant character, and I hope that Corrie hold on to him. And I don't want him to be a Graham Proctor that only stays in it a year or two and then disappears. And have people for years saying, "Oh, do you remember Jacob?" No, keep him in there. Keeping him with Amy, a really great couple.
There's not very many people like him on the street, is there?
And it wasn't just the silly stuff. Like the scene where he talks about his mate getting stabbed. That was a brilliantly performed scene. I also enjoyed the bit where he finds out about Amy being worried about who was it that spiked me, and he was like, I wish you told me earlier. He had a real range this week. I enjoyed his Irish Nan's impression.
He did
on tonight's episode.
Yeah, I felt like he is a bit like us, where if I do any more than this 2-word thing, it's going to go absolutely wrong, and I might be Jamaican out of nowhere.
There is competition from some other characters, but it's Jacob for me.
I want to hear Jacob's. I want to hear a bit more from his nan.
What about? I want his nan to be a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nana Hay.
Yeah.
Character of the week, Gemma. You can't get out of it.
Hey, Nana Hay.
Is it Jacob? Is it George? Is it Eileen? Is it Toyah?
I don't know, because I'm leaning towards Toyah, Imran sort of, but because
Toyah was so
cute.
good, so good. I think it's got to be Toyah. Episode.
I really love her. Why?
2 weeks in a row for Toyah, is that? Was she character of the week last week?
I don't.
Or maybe 2 weeks ago.
I don't know. But she's my girl, so I
just loved the fact that they gave her the opportunity to let her hair down.
I know, she got to wear a veil.
Lovely.
Even if she doesn't get married on Monday, say like she falls off a cliff or down the toilet or gets poisoned by a biscuit that was dug out of the ground.
Yeah.
We got to see her in a veil.
Yeah. Is this the closest we're going to get?
And it could have been a space wedding, couldn't it? Because you had like silver's kind of like white.
Yeah. Yeah.
Space wedding outfit.
Okay, so you got 3.5 and Toyah. I've got 4 and Jacob. Keep it up. And that's what I should say to Tim. I think
he can't get it. He can't get it there in the first place.
I've got a feeling that next week is also going to be good. I think that next week we'll be saying it's a shame that they gave so much screen time to the Nazir story.
Why? Because of the festival.
But and the festival bit is kind of interesting, but I'm not in the slightest bit interested in the dramas and the falling out and the pettiness basically between Yasmin, Alia and Zidane. Not interested.
It is petty, isn't it? It's very stupid.
If there's going to be this wedding, then surely this story with the Happy Babby Baby is going to be at the forefront, which I love. I don't know what else.
Who gets married on a Monday?
I think it might even be next week. That's the anniversary of Seb's death, and whether something's going to be done to mark that, I don't know. Oh, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, let's move on to the next bit of the podcast.